In the regal heart of the kingdom of Nusantral, where reason had long since been traded for ritual, a new parchment emerged from the vaults of legislative conjuration, an arcane artifact known only as the Enchanted Scroll of Martial Benevolence. Penned under moonlight by scribes sworn to silence and sycophancy, this scroll, more formally titled the Royal Edict on the Omnipresence of the Knightly Order, was heralded as a divine revelation destined to restore celestial balance to matters no one knew were imbalanced. The Council of Cloaked Strategists, whose loyalty was matched only by their immunity, insisted that knights, once confined to barracks and battlefields, must now grace the civilian courts, councils, and counting houses. And lo, the people were told it was not power but public service with epaulets. The royal chamberlain of harmonious uniformity took to the crystal balcony, flanked by a dozen generals in ceremonial silence, to proclaim that the age of separation between sword and scroll was an outdated superstition. "Why must we cling to the antique notion," he mused aloud to the thunderous applause of coerced cheers, "that those trained in the art of war are unsuited for the art of bureaucracy?" It was, according to official interpretation, an act of visionary unification, to blur the lines between governance and command, between civility and chain of command, between rights and regiments. Never mind that the scroll whispered not of civilian empowerment, but of disciplined obedience dressed in legislative lace. Thus, in the era that followed, knights began to appear in places they were never meant to tread, not on horseback, but in boardrooms, market squares, schools, and even sanctuaries of scholarship. Their armor now bore emblems of civil departments, and their lances became pens that signed decrees with the precision of martial drills. Where once the governed sought redress through dialogue and reason, they now faced decorum enforced by doctrine, and debate silenced under the benevolent smile of chain mail. And when whispers of unease echoed in shadowed taverns, the Ministry of Interpretive Clarification reminded all that questioning the scroll was akin to treason against unity itself. The scribes who once warned of the danger of valor unchained from accountability found their quills confiscated and replaced with forms to be signed in triplicate. "This is merely an administrative alignment," chirped the High Counselor of Transitional Terminologies, "a refinement of functions, not a redefinition of dominion." Yet the halls of civic institutions, once erratic but organic, grew eerily efficient and mute, where policy was not debated but obeyed, and dissent was recast as a disturbance to national synchronization. Indeed, it was said the scroll's magic lay not in what it promised, but in how it made compliance feel like a virtue. Behind veils of reverence and televised pageantry, the keepers of the scroll expanded their dominion through what was poetically termed strategic guidance interventions. Public festivals now included choreographed salutes to administrators in military decor, and schoolchildren were taught that democracy thrives best when gently supervised by armed guardians of order. Whenever a question was raised about civilian oversight, the answer came not as a rebuttal, but as a re-education campaign filled with patriotic songs and reruns of the Great March of Stability. The enchantment was complete. Choice itself had become an illusion artfully staged upon the grand theater of statehood. A few old sorcerers of law, relics of a time when legislation was not war paint, attempted to decode the true nature of the scroll. They warned of a creeping spell that could normalize permanence where there should be rotation, hierarchy where there should be accountability. But their words, wrapped in nuance and coded in caution, were drowned beneath the roaring ovations of a populace trained to conflate uniforms with salvation. "Let them lead," the chorus echoed, For surely those who conquer best must govern best. And thus, wisdom bowed to the weight of decorated certainty. So it came to pass that the kingdom of Nuzantralithia, under the divine auspices of the enchanted scroll, sailed proudly into a future where checks were balanced only on scales forged in barracks. The people, swathed in flags and commandment, marched in lines that grew straighter with each passing day. And though freedom wore a smile upon its ceremonial mask, behind it lay the quiet resignation of a realm that had willingly traded the chaos of liberty for the choreography of control. The scroll, resting atop its velvet pedestal, gleamed, not with justice, but with the polished brilliance of irreversible design.